At my daughter's science fair, I found her volcano ruined in the sink. My sister just smirked. It's only paper. The next day, my parents pleaded for money for her charity gala. I said nothing, let it get cancelled, then spent the same funds on a celebration for my kids. Hey Reddit, my family never let go of their grudge after I married the man I loved, and when he passed, they shifted that bitterness onto our daughter. I spent years trying to smooth things over, but eventually they pushed beyond what I could tolerate. Before everything unraveled, I should probably start at the beginning. I'm Megan, I'm 32, and these days it's just me and my girl. We rent a small 2-bedroom place over a laundromat. Nothing fancy, but it's ours. I work full-time in a logistics office doing all the basic stuff, calls, forms, shipment logs. It's dull work, but it keeps the lights on, fills the fridge, and covers those school field trips Lucy gets excited about. Every single morning kicks off the same way. I brew coffee in Caleb's old chipped mug with the faded sunflowers, the one he found at a garage sale because it reminded him of the road trips he liked to daydream about. He's been gone 4 years now, but that mug and the cardigan he always wore still sit right where he last left them. Sometimes Lucy pulls on that sweater when she's missing him, the sleeves so big they swallow her arms whole. She's 8, small, bright, and buzzing with energy with Caleb's dark hair and pale eyes. People constantly say she's his little mirror. My family despises that. They never really forgave me for marrying Caleb without their blessing. My parents skipped the wedding, and my sister Brooke called that night just to tell me I'd embarrassed everyone. After Caleb died, I honestly thought they'd ease up. They didn't. Mom looks at Lucy and sees nothing but him. Brooke barely acknowledges her. Dad acts like she's air. Eventually I stopped forcing visits because Lucy doesn't deserve that kind of frost. Brooke is 35 and always soaking up attention. Galas, charity events, dramatic stories. My parents treat her like she's made of gold. When she slips up, they blame stress. When I put my foot down, they say I'm difficult. I've always been the one cleaning up after her, fixing bills, jump-starting her car, patching family arguments. Lately I've started realizing that wasn't exactly fair. Our apartment may be tiny, but it's ours. A shaky kitchen table, a worn-out couch, Lucy's drawings crowding the fridge. Every morning she feeds the stray cats behind the building, Pickle and Bean, before we climb into my squeaky hatchback, which she swears is laughing. Her birthday lines up with the school science fair this year, so she decided to blend the two. A science-themed party. She picked a volcano because, as she said, her dad loved mountains, only this one gets to explode. I bought the basics: cardboard, glue, paint, vinegar, baking soda. After dinner each night we work on it together. She wears one of my old shirts like a lab coat and hums while she paints. The first version looked pretty rough, but she called it Still in Formation. She named it Mount Resilience because, according to her, it's strong even when it gets messy. That sounded so much like something Caleb would have said that it caught me off guard. Later that night, I texted the family group chat to invite them. I wrote, Lucy's science fair is Saturday at the community center, 2 p.m. We're making it her birthday party too. She'd really love to see everyone. Brooke answered an hour later with, I'll try to make it. Busy weekend. Mom just tapped a thumbs up emoji. Dad didn't respond at all. It hit harder than I wanted to admit. When we were kids, they never missed a single one of Brooke's events. Dance recitals, debate meets, even some charity walks she barely helped with. They made banners for her. I wasn't expecting a parade for Lucy, but a little excitement would have been nice. I shut off my phone and went back to help Lucy scrub the sink. That night she sat on the floor with construction paper, snipping out triangles for a banner. Mom, can we make cupcakes too? I want chocolate with red frosting like lava. I told her we'd bake them Friday night. She said we needed fake smoke, maybe dry ice. I told her I'd figure something out. She clapped like I just promised a trip to space. The week before the fair felt like our apartment turned into a craft studio every evening. Right after dinner, Lucy would whisk away the dishes, haul out her cardboard stash, and announce volcano time like she was hosting a show. I told her arts and crafts weren't my strength, but she said I was good at holding things in place, so that became my official duty. Hold the base while she spread paste with a spoon, building up the layers. Make it rounder, she'd say, squinting like a tiny engineer. I'd nod and say, yes ma'am, even though my fingers were basically glued together. We mixed flour, water, and glue until it looked like pancake batter, then slapped paper strips over the frame. It was messy, fun, and slow. Every time the volcano began to take shape, Lucy would tilt her head and study it like it had a mind of its own. It's not just a school thing, she told me one night. It's a real volcano. It just hasn't decided when to erupt. I told her she was starting to sound like her dad. Caleb used to talk that way, like everything around him, chairs, books, trees, had its own personality. When I told her that, she grinned and said, "Good. Then maybe he can see it through me." I didn't know how to respond, so I just handed her the brush, and she added another layer of paint. The first real test came on Wednesday. We set the volcano in the kitchen sink since the balcony drain was clogged again. Lucy poured vinegar into the crater while I held my phone to record. Then she dumped in a spoonful of baking soda and the red foam shot up way higher than we expected, spilling everywhere. She screamed, half thrilled, half shocked. I started laughing too because it honestly looked like we'd exploded a ketchup bottle. We slipped around trying to clean it up, and she kept saying, "This is perfect, it works too good." On Thursday we swung by the dollar store for decorations. Lucy picked the brightest, weirdest mix of stuff: red balloons, orange paper banners, plastic volcano-themed cups from some summer discount bin. She said it all fit the magma vibe. She grabbed glitter glue and asked if she could make a sign for her table. I said sure, thinking it would keep her entertained while I organized everything else. That night she sat cross-legged on the floor, tongue sticking out in concentration while she wrote. When she finished, she lifted the sign with this huge proud grin. Volcano Squad, it read, each letter traced with silver glitter. "We're a team," she told me, "just me, you, and Dad, the whole squad." I don't know why, but that hit me straight in the chest. Friday was all about the finishing touches. We added layers of brown paint to hide the newspaper strips and brushed these bright orange streaks down the sides to make it look like cooling lava. Lucy suggested sliding her old nightlight underneath so the volcano would glow. And when we tested it, it actually looked incredible, so we kept it. I told her it was probably the greatest use anyone had ever found for a broken unicorn lamp. When we finally finished, we set it on the kitchen table to dry overnight. The thing looked amazing, not flawless but somehow alive. Lucy paced around the table, checking every angle like a judge on some craft competition show. "We did it," she said, cheeks pink from smiling so hard. "Tomorrow's going to be the best day ever." Saturday morning kicked off early. The community center gym was already buzzing when we arrived. Kids racing around, parents taping posters, the air thick with the smells of glue and paint. I carried the volcano carefully with both hands, like it was something fragile. Lucy held the banner tucked under her arm, wearing the white Volcano Squad shirt we decorated with fabric markers the night before. She'd written Team Lucy on the back in red glitter and kept bouncing on her toes while I searched for our table. We eventually found our spot along the wall next to a kid whose paper solar system kept losing pieces. I set the volcano down gently and checked it for cracks from the drive. Under those gym lights it looked perfect: brown slopes, orange highlights, and that soft glow from the lamp inside. Lucy planted her tiny flag on top and whispered, "Mount Resilience reporting for duty." I laughed, even though I was exhausted. We'd stayed up late baking cupcakes and scrubbing paint out of bowls, but she was practically vibrating with excitement. I helped her tape the banner to the front of the table while she arranged her supplies: vinegar bottle, baking soda, food coloring, and a little plastic cup, just like she'd rehearsed. Soon parents wandered past, stopping to admire the project, telling her how creative it looked. She stood straight and explained how the eruption worked because of a chemical reaction. One lady said she sounded like a real scientist, and Lucy lit up so bright I thought her smile might pop. I was walking a box of juice boxes and paper plates to the snack table when Brooke showed up, late as usual. She strolled in like she was stepping onto a red carpet. Sunglasses on indoors, a big iced coffee in hand, a fancy-looking gift bag dangling from the other. "Wow," she said, glancing around. "So this is it?" "Yep," I said, setting down the box. "Kids are having a blast." She glanced at our table and made a face. "You really went all out with the decorations, huh? Dollar store special." I ignored her tone. "Lucy's proud of it," I told her. "That's what matters." Brooke shrugged and sipped her drink. "I'm just saying it's a little messy. You could have asked me for help. I would have made it look more presentable." "It's fine," I told her with a tight smile. "She's 8. It's meant to look like a kid made it." Brooke rolled her eyes and started scrolling on her phone. "Suit yourself." Anyway, Mom said she might stop by after her salon appointment. I just nodded and walked off before I said something I'd regret. I told Lucy I'd be right back and headed out to the parking lot to grab the extra bin of decorations from the car. Took maybe 5 minutes. When I stepped back into the gym, the noise hit first. Kids shouting, someone crying near the snack table, a teacher trying to calm everyone down. Then the smell hit me. Vinegar and paint, sharp, sour, unmistakable. I dropped the bin beside the door and scanned the room. Our banner was half off the table, one corner ripped. Paper cups knocked over, juice leaking everywhere. But the volcano itself gone. I shoved through a crowd of kids and followed the smell toward the back sink. That's when I saw it. The volcano lay in the basin, not just broken, destroyed. The cardboard shell had collapsed. Wet red foam dripped down the steel sides like blood. The little flag Lucy made was stuck to the wall, sliding toward the drain. A kid nearby pointed and snickered. And there was Brooke, leaning against the counter with her phone in one hand, stirring her iced coffee with the other. Calm, unbothered, like the chaos was just scenery. What happened? I asked louder than I intended. People turned. She didn't even blink. Guess your kid overdid it, she said. It erupted everywhere. She smiled like she delivered a cute joke. The smell burned my eyes. Foam splattered across cabinets. Red puddles smeared across the floor. The night light under the volcano flickered once, then gave a soft pop and went out. I stepped forward and lifted what was left, my hands shaking. The thing crumbled apart, paste and paint smearing over my palms. Brooke tilted her head. It's just paper, Megan. You're acting like someone died. I dropped the soggy heap into the trash, wiped my hands, then pulled it back out, stuffed it into a garbage bag, tied it shut, and held onto it. Then I turned to her. What did you do? She blinked slowly, putting on her best innocent face. Wow, you're accusing me? Maybe keep better track of your stuff. It looked unstable. My jaw clenched until it hurt. You should leave, I told her, keeping my voice low. She snorted. Relax. It's a school fair, not some museum. You're being dramatic. Behind us, a janitor started mopping. The red streaks looked like someone had spilled paint everywhere. I couldn't even answer her. I just turned away and began cleaning up what was left while the noise in the room grew around me. When I finally looked up again, Brooke was gone. The only piece of Lucy's volcano still visible was the bent little flag, clinging to the drain like it didn't want to disappear. I walked back to our table and found Lucy sitting on a folding chair, swinging her legs and nibbling a cupcake. She looked up at me with a bright smile. Mom, where's the volcano? I crouched beside her and brushed a crumb off her shirt. Hey kiddo, you look a little worn out. How about we head home early and put on our own volcano show later? Just you and me. Her smile dimmed. But the judges haven't come yet. They've seen plenty today, I told her gently. Besides, we'll build an even better one at home. A secret project. She hesitated, then nodded. Okay. But can I take the banner? Of course, I said, helping her peel the tape off the edges. The drive home was mostly quiet. Gray sky outside, radio humming low. Lucy stared out the window with the flag tucked in her lap. After a few minutes she whispered, did I do something wrong? I didn't even touch it. I shook my head. No, sweetheart. You did everything right. Sometimes people break things they don't understand. She didn't answer after that. She just held the little flag and eventually drifted off to sleep halfway home. When I carried her inside, she was still gripping it tight. I settled her in bed, pulled the blanket up, and looked at those glittery letters shining faintly in the lamp's glow. I sat there for a moment, tired, angry, but mostly sad. Not because the volcano was ruined, but because my daughter thought she was to blame when all she'd done was create something beautiful. The next morning the apartment felt heavier than usual, like the air itself was waiting. Lucy was asleep on the couch. She'd wandered there sometime after midnight, hugging the bent little flag like a stuffed animal. Her shirt had a faded red stain from the foam. I brushed a strand of hair from her forehead, careful not to wake her. Around 9 my phone finally rang. Mom's name lit up the screen. I figured she'd be calling to ask about Lucy, maybe even offer an apology for Brooke. Hey, I said. Megan, she began sharply. We have an issue with Brooke's charity event. The community center is threatening to cancel, unless they get the rest of the payment. It took me a moment to process what she'd said. That's what you're calling about? I know the timing is inconvenient, she went on, ignoring the edge in my voice, But they said they might pull the date if someone doesn't smooth it over. You're good with people. Maybe call them. Let them know the transfer's on its way. I laughed once, dry and humorless. You're serious? This event is important, she insisted. It's for the hospital fundraiser. I leaned back in my chair. Mom, yesterday at that same community center, Brooke destroyed Lucy's project. She humiliated her. Maybe you should call them about that instead. Silence. Then a small, annoyed sigh. You always exaggerate. Brooke said it was an accident. Yeah, I replied flatly. Sure. Megan, please, she said, her tone softening but not in a way that felt kind. You know how your sister is. She's careless sometimes, but she means well. The venue needs reassurance. If they cancel, it reflects badly on all of us. I'm not calling them, I said. Fine, she snapped, dropping the attempt at sweetness. But don't say we didn't try to keep this family together. Then she hung up. I stared at the wall for a long moment. Around noon, someone knocked. 3 sharp knocks, the way Dad always did when he was irritated. I thought about ignoring it, but Lucy came down the hall rubbing her eyes. Who's that? I sighed. Grandpa. She perked up a little, so I opened the door. Dad stepped inside without waiting. Holding his hat like that made the intrusion polite. He looked around and his eyes brushed over the half-smashed volcano by the trash, but he didn't ask a thing. We need to talk, he said, setting his hat on the counter. Morning to you too, I replied. I just came from your mother, he said. She's upset. The center's threatening to cancel your sister's gala. It's a mess, Megan. You could fix it with one phone call. I leaned against the counter. No. He frowned. Don't be difficult. You've always been the reasonable one. That's code for the one who cleans up after Brooke, right? He blew out a long breath. The kind he used before saying something worse. You think you're the only one making sacrifices? That payment Brooke put down came from us. Well, technically, from the account we set up for Lucy. I froze. What account? The education savings, he said casually, like he was mentioning the weather. It's temporary. We'll replace it after the gala. Don't give me that look. It's all family money. My pulse hammered in my ears. You took from my daughter's account to pay for Brooke's event? He waved it off. It's not an event, it's a fundraiser. It helps the community. You're blowing this out of proportion. That money came from Caleb, I said, my voice cold. It was everything he left. The insurance, the savings, I've added to it every year. It was a custodial account my parents helped open ages ago, which is how they still had access. Dad shifted, annoyed. You always make everything about Caleb. You're not the only one who's lost someone. I stepped closer. Oh, then why is his kid paying for Brooke's gala? He looked away and pinched the bridge of his nose. You wouldn't understand. Her event is important. People are paying attention. It represents the family. There it is, I said quietly. Family first, so long as it's your favorite part of the family. His jaw tightened. You've got an attitude problem. That's why nobody comes to you for help anymore. I opened the door and pointed out. You should go. He hesitated, grabbed his hat, and walked out without another word. The door shut harder than I meant. Lucy stood in the hallway clutching her stuffed bunny, eyes wide. Were you fighting with Grandpa? I knelt down and forced a smile. We were just talking too loudly, that's all. She looked past me at the counter. Did Grandma take my school money? For a second I didn't know how to answer. Then I rested my hand on her shoulder and said, Don't worry, sweetheart. We'll get it back. She nodded slowly and hugged her bunny tighter. Okay. That night, after she fell asleep, I sat on the couch with Caleb's mug cupped between my hands. I wasn't sure if I was furious or just worn down, but one thing was crystal clear. I was done patching up the messes everyone else kept making. Monday rolled in like any other workday. I got to the office early, poured myself a cup of terrible coffee, and went straight into my inbox. By lunchtime, I was staring through the screen more than at it. I decided to step back, just zone out on Facebook for a few minutes. That's when I saw it. Brooke's charity gala post had already been reshared about 20 times. The caption said, Join us for a night of inspiration and giving, celebrating the future generation. And right underneath was a photo of Lucy, my 8-year-old child, smiling in front of her volcano, holding the little Volcano squad flag. They'd cropped the background and slapped a gold filter over her head with big bold letters saying, Inspiring the next generation. My stomach dropped so hard I felt lightheaded. I tapped the picture and zoomed in. It was definitely from the science fair. I recognized the gym floor, the same smudge of paint on her cheek. Brooke must have snapped it while I was hauling juice boxes, before everything went off the rails. I didn't even finish my lunch. I grabbed my phone and sent her a message. Take my kid off your ad. She replied a few minutes later, relax. It's for a good cause. You're so uptight sometimes. I stared at the text until my hands started trembling. I called her straight to voicemail. Called again, same thing. I tried Mom next. She answered after 2 rings. Mom, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, why is Lucy's face on Brooke's Gala poster? She paused. What? Oh, you mean the flyer. Isn't it lovely? No, it isn't lovely. It's my daughter. You used her picture without asking me. Oh, Megan, she sighed, you always make everything about Caleb. This isn't about your grief. It's about family unity. The gala celebrates future generations. Lucy is family. She's not decor, I said. You had no right. I didn't design the poster, she argued. Brooke handled that, and it's for a good cause. You should be proud your daughter inspires people. I'm not proud, I said. I'm disgusted. Silence. Then she muttered, you're overreacting again, and hung up. I sat in my cubicle with my phone still in my hand, heart pounding. My coworker Dan peeked over the divider. You okay? Yeah, I said automatically. Just family stuff. He nodded like that explained everything. Everyone has family stuff. Except not everyone's family uses their kid for publicity without even asking. I barely got anything done the rest of the day. By the time I walked through our front door, I'd made up my mind. I wasn't going to scream or argue anymore. None of that ever worked. I was going to document everything. I sat at the kitchen table, opened my laptop and started gathering proof. Screenshots of the Facebook post. Screenshots of all the comments calling Lucy inspiring. Screenshots of my messages with Mom. Screenshots of Brooke's replies. I saved every timestamp, every file. Then I dug through my emails and pulled the bank statements showing when the education account was drained. Every message, every call log, every screenshot, I printed them all. The old printer made terrible noises, but it still did its job. I found an empty binder from Caleb's old work stuff and slid the pages in one by one. I didn't have a solid plan yet. I just wanted something tangible that said, this happened. I'm not imagining things. When I finished, I tucked the binder in the drawer under the sink. Maybe because that's where Caleb used to leave the important mail. Lucy wandered out in her pajamas, holding a brush and a cup of paint. Mom, can we finish the volcano tonight? I looked up. You want to rebuild it? She nodded. You said we could make it again. Maybe better. She placed a small cardboard base on the table, sturdier but shorter than the last one. All right, I said. Let's do it. We sat together painting the sides brown again. She hummed softly, focused, dipping her brush with this careful little rhythm. I tried matching her strokes. Grandma's mad again, she said after a minute, still concentrating on the paint. Why would you say that? She always gets mad when you don't do what she wants. I didn't answer right away. They forget what really matters sometimes, I finally said. She nodded like the idea made sense even though it shouldn't have to. After about an hour, the volcano started to take shape. Shorter this time, but smoother. She added orange streaks and said, this one's better. It's more real. Yeah, I said softly. It is. After she went to bed, I stayed up rinsing brushes. The table was messy with paint again, but it didn't bother me. I glanced at the binder drawer before switching off the light. They thought I'd keep letting them do whatever they wanted. But now I had something they couldn't twist around or talk over. Proof. And for the first time in a long while I felt calm. By Wednesday morning the emails started showing up. The subject line read, Outstanding Balance. Brooke's Charity Gala. The community center manager had CC'd me by mistake. Or maybe intentionally. Later she told me she got my contact info from the science fair sign-in sheet because she recognized my name. The first email was polite, just a reminder that the final payment was due Friday by 5 p.m. The second one mentioned trouble reaching the client and an inappropriate tone during earlier conversations. I read them twice and closed my laptop. I didn't reply. By Thursday, another email came in. The tone was firmer. Failure to submit the remaining balance will result in cancellation of the reservation. I could practically picture Brooke reading that, rolling her eyes, assuming someone would swoop in to save her like always. I didn't even hesitate this time. I wasn't calling, I wasn't emailing, and I sure wasn't stepping in. Let her handle it for once. That evening I picked up Lucy from school. She sprinted to the car holding a drawing of a volcano blasting glittery smoke into the sky. "It's us," she said, pointing to two stick figures beside it. "We're safe because we built it together." I smiled. Looks about right. When we got home, we heated up leftovers and kept working on the new volcano. It was smaller than the first one but sturdier, and Lucy was proud of it. "This one's not gonna break," she said with absolute confidence. "No," I told her. "This one's unbreakable." We painted it red and black, then tucked little LED lights inside so it glowed. She kept flicking them on and off, pretending it was erupting. "We should do a show again," she said. "But just for us." Maybe, I answered. Maybe for more than just us. The next morning my inbox was chaos. The manager's newest email had a line that jumped out at me. "We've attempted to contact Ms. Brooke several times with no response." Scrolling down, I found the last message Brooke had sent them. A single line. "I told you I'll pay when I can. Stop harassing me." I leaned back, half amused. Same old Brooke, entitled, rude, expecting everyone else to bend the world around her. Then came the text. At 9:17 a.m. "Mom, please Megan. Talk to them. Don't let your sister ruin this. You know how hard she's worked." At 10:02 a.m. "Dad, be the bigger person. This isn't the time for grudges." At 11:45 a.m. "Brooke, if this gets canceled, it's on you. You could have fixed it in 5 minutes." I ignored every one of them. Around noon Mom called. I let it ring. Then she texted again. "I hope you can live with yourself if she loses everything." I turned my phone face down and went back to work. The day dragged, each buzz from my phone carrying another plea or accusation. But for once I wasn't part of their crisis. I wasn't the fixer. I wasn't their safety net. At 4:57 p.m. my phone started ringing nonstop. I ignored every call. At 5:03 p.m. an email alert popped up. Subject: reservation canceled. Event account: Brooke's Charity Gala. I opened it. "Dear Ms. Brooke, as of 5 p.m. no payment was received. Per contract terms, your reservation has been canceled and the deposit forfeited. Community Center Management." I stared at it for a moment, then exhaled. Not relief. Not joy. Just quiet. Then I clicked reply. "Hi, this is Megan. I'd like to reserve the same hall and date for a small children's science event. Please let me know if that's available." I attached my payment info, hit send, and closed my laptop. Lucy was sitting on the floor nearby, painting the volcano base again. She looked up when she heard me. "Mom, look. I added tiny rocks so it looks realistic." I knelt beside her. The volcano glowed softly, the paint still wet but already beautiful. "You're getting really good at this," I said. She shrugged, proud. "You helped." "Yeah," I said with a smile. "But you built it." She brushed on more orange paint. "Can we make it explode tomorrow?" "Tomorrow sounds perfect." She clapped, streaking paint across her cheek. "Mount resilience to 0. she shouted. I laughed. "You've got it, kiddo." That night, after she was asleep, I sat by the window with my notebook. I checked email again. The manager had already written back. "Hi Megan, the date is available. Thank you for the prompt payment. Your reservation is confirmed for Saturday evening. Looking forward to hosting your event." I smiled and shut the laptop. 4 years I'd been the one smoothing things over, covering bills, making excuses. But tonight felt different. Tonight I wasn't cleaning up their mess. The little volcano on the table glowed through the dim room, and for a moment I thought about Caleb. How proud he'd be of Lucy, how much of his spark lived in her. I stood, turned off the lights, and murmured to myself, "This one's unbreakable." And for the first time I actually believed it. Saturday arrived quiet and warm. The day that was supposed to be Brooke's big charity gala now belonged to Lucy. When we reached the community center, the parking lot was half empty, the air smelling like dust and sunshine. The manager opened the hall for us, smiling when she saw the little banner tucked under my arm. By evening, a handful of friends and neighbors drifted in. Nothing fancy, just good folks. My coworker Dan brought his kids. Lucy's teacher, Mrs. Carter, arrived with a tray of brownies. Even our downstairs neighbor, the lady who feeds the stray cats, showed up carrying lemonade. We strung cheap lights along the walls, and Lucy taped her Volcano squad banner above the table again. Her second Volcano sat proudly in the center, its lights glowing like something alive. I'd picked up a small speaker for soft music. The room smelled like cupcakes and fresh paint. It wasn't a gala, but it felt right. When everyone settled, Lucy climbed onto a chair holding her little note cards. "This is Mount Resilience," she said proudly. "It's called that because it came back stronger, just like people can." The room went still. Then she added the vinegar, dropped in the baking soda, and stepped back. The foam bubbled over in glowing red light. The kids erupted in cheers, clapping and laughing. She grinned so hard her whole face lit up. I felt something ease in my chest. After the show, people gathered around her, telling her how amazing it was. Mrs. Carter said she should join the school's science club. Lucy kept beaming, eyes full of spark. Later, we handed out snacks. The kids played tag while parents chatted. I stood back and watched Lucy chase a balloon across the floor, laughing so hard she almost fell over. And for the first time in a long while, the noise in my life felt good. We got home late, and Lucy crashed on the couch still wearing her Volcano squad shirt. A smear of frosting stuck to her cheek. I carried her to bed and tucked her in. Her banner hung crooked on the wall, and I left it just like that. It belonged there. The next morning someone knocked. It was Dad. He stood in the doorway holding his hat like it made things formal, looking older than he had the week before. He didn't ask to come in, just held out an envelope. "It's the money," he said, pressing a cashier's check into my hand. We went to the bank when it opened. "It's time we make this right." I opened it and saw the full amount from Lucy's college account. "Thanks," I said quietly. He nodded. "Let's just move on." "We will," I said, "just not the same way." He didn't fight it. He just nodded again and walked off. A few days later, Mom called asking if we'd meet her at the park. Lucy wanted to go, so we did. Mom was on a bench with a paper bag of snacks, looking worn out. When Lucy ran up, Mom bent down and hugged her. "I'm sorry, sweetheart," she said softly. "I shouldn't have let things get so ugly. You remind me too much of him sometimes." Lucy frowned. "Of who?" "Your dad," Mom said gently. "That's not your fault." Lucy brightened. "Mom says that means I'm brave." Mom's eyes filled with tears. She hugged her again, and for once it felt real. We fed ducks for a while. Mom stayed on the bench watching us, quiet. When we left, she waved. It wasn't forgiveness, not really. But it was something. A few days later, I took Lucy to the hardware store. She was already planning next year's Volcano, bigger and stronger, she said. She picked out PVC pipes and bright red paint, humming as she pushed the little cart down the aisle. At the checkout, she looked up at me. "Next time we should make 2. One for me and one for you." I smiled. "Deal, but yours has to win." She grinned. "Obviously." On the way home, we rolled the windows down. Her hair flew in the wind while she tapped her fingers on her knees along with the radio. For once, my phone stayed quiet. No guilt. No demands. Just peace. That night, I stood on the balcony while the laundromat hummed below us. The city lights flickered like tiny fires across the skyline. Inside, Lucy was asleep, her drawings taped to the walls, volcanoes, mountains, hearts. All bright and bold. We'd made it through. Not neatly. Not easily. But stronger. She really was her father's kid, and that was enough. Spring drifted into summer before I realized how different things had become. My parents called sometimes, softer now, almost careful. Mom asked about school or the new kittens Pickle had. Dad stuck to weather talk. Brooke never called at all. One night I got a message from a number I didn't know. "Hey Megan. It's Brooke. I heard about Lucy's science night. Looked like it was a hit." I stared at it a moment, then typed back. It was. "She did great." 3 dots appeared, then vanished. No reply. And honestly, that was fine. Some silences don't need filling. Life settled into something steady. I transferred departments at work, same company, better hours, so I could pick up Lucy after her Thursday art club. We started saving for a small mountain trip, the kind Caleb always talked about. Every morning, Lucy still fed Pickle and Bean before school. Those cats might as well have been family the way they waited by the stairs every afternoon. Each night she'd tell me a new volcano fact, like how even dormant ones still breathe. One evening, after she went to bed, I found her notebook on the kitchen table. The cover was painted in red and gold streaks. On the first page she'd written Mount Resilience. Chapter 2. Things that don't break. They just grow. I ran my thumb over the words, smiling. She was 8 and somehow already wiser than the rest of us. In late summer, the community center reached out. The same manager emailed, "Hi Megan. We're hosting a local heroes event for the kids program. Lucy's project inspired a lot of people. Would she like to do a demonstration?" I read it twice, then showed Lucy after school. Her eyes went huge. "For real? Me teaching?" "Looks like it," I said. She grinned so wide her front tooth gap showed. "Then we need to make a new volcano, one that sparkles." And that's exactly what we did. For a week straight, the apartment looked like a glitter storm rolled through. Glue on everything, flour paste in the sink, cardboard stacked in corners. But when she stood in front of that little crowd on Saturday, explaining how baking soda and vinegar react, I swear Caleb would have been proud enough to tear up. When the eruption went off, the kids cheered, and Lucy laughed so hard she nearly dropped her notes. Mom came to that one. She stood in the back with her hands clasped, eyes shiny. Afterward she hugged me. Not the distant kind, but a real shaky one. "Isaac would be so proud," she whispered. "I know," I said softly. Then she smiled at Lucy. "And so am I." Lucy waved her glitter-covered hand, and Mom laughed. For the first time in years, it didn't sound forced. A few months later, I found an old video Caleb had taken years ago. He was laughing behind the camera while I tried to put together a bookshelf, and toddler Lucy sat on the floor chewing a plastic hammer. "Look at my little builders," he said. "You two can fix anything." I watched it again and again until the image blurred into light. And somewhere in that moment I realized he'd been right in his own way. We did fix things. Not perfectly, not smoothly, but with glue and patience and love and way too much paint under our nails. That fall, Lucy's school hosted another science showcase. She named her new project the Phoenix Volcano. When they called her name as the winner, she looked straight at me, eyes wide with pride. I clapped until my palms stung. Afterward, Mrs. Carter came over. "You know, Megan, you're raising a remarkable kid." I smiled, watching Lucy spin around with her medal. "Honestly, I think she's the one raising me." That night, I tucked her into bed. She was still wearing her medal, eyes heavy. "Mom," she murmured, "do you think Dad, my first dad, can see us?" I brushed her hair back. "I think he never stopped." She smiled sleepily. "Then he knows we built it again." "Yeah," I whispered. "He knows." I turned off the lamp and stood in the doorway, listening to her soft breathing. Outside, the world was quiet. For years, my family had tried to convince me I'd built something wrong. Like love and grief and motherhood were just volcanoes waiting to explode. But standing there in that gentle dark, I finally understood something. Some eruptions don't destroy anything. They make space for what comes next. I walked into the living room, past the newest cardboard mountain on the table, still half-painted. I touched the edge, careful not to smudge it. Mount Resilience version 3. Still standing. Still glowing. And so were we.